Now, the village of Tissington and its surroundings have offered artefacts from various periods of history, including the Neolithic, Iron Age, Roman, and medieval. This is showcasing its long-standing settlement. The custom of Derbyshire's well dressings, sometimes termed floralia, may have begun as a pagan custom of offering to a deity or spirit for a reliable water supply. It's also been suggested that villagers celebrating the purity of their water supply after surviving the Black Death in 1348, as Tissington wasn't a victim of it. And yet another school of thought claims that the Romans introduced the custom into Britain. And I think it was the philosopher Seneca stated that where springs or rivers flow, we should build altars or make sacrifices. Now, none of these springs or wells in Tissington has a religious dedication, and the local village name suggests the wells might have been celebrated for meeting the village's material needs rather than any healing miracles, but we don't know for sure. And the wells are all within a few minutes' walk of each other around a small village. Now, this one's called Hans Well, and it's 18th century gritstone oval basin set in the wall in front of the Overfield farm. Now, with this one, the Children's Well it's called, the water seems to rise somewhere underneath the farmyard, and it's channeled along a pipe and issues into an open stone channel, and this feeds the water into a stone trough. Now, to make and dress these wells, the artists start by floating large variously shaped timber boards on the village pond until the wood swells with water. Then clay is dug up from under a nearby field, which they tread until it's pliable and then spread it over each board. Then, using the materials they've gathered and prepared over the course of the year, like coffee beans or elder seeds for instance, they form a solid dark outline that corresponds with the drawing that they want to make. These outlines are then filled in by flower petals, mosses, seeds, berries, all chosen for their colour and texture. Now this one is Hall Well, probably the grandest of the 6 wells in Tissington, and it stands on the grass verge opposite Tissington Hall. It's got a large overhanging arch and possibly sacred yew grove behind it. The water is said to feed the village pond some distance away. Now this one's called Yew Tree Well, for obvious reasons. Apparently it used to be called Goodwin's Well after a tenant farmer who farmed near to the well. Now this one's Town Well. There's a strong flow of water into and out of it. Presumably all the paving made it easy to draw water from the well pool. You might be able to see how they were made with this one. It's a bit more better of a close up. And last of all, we have Coffin Well. Particularly interesting because of its shape. Looks like a coffin. And because it's in a garden at the rear of a cottage. St Mary's Church is located at the heart of the picturesque village. And as you see, it's square above the village on a hill opposite Tissington Hall, which was built in 1609 and still lived in by the Fitzherbert family. And the site's been known to have been a place of worship since Celtic Saxon times. But this low, massive tower is early Norman, with 13th century buttresses, and the walls are about 4 feet thick. And there are some lovely yew trees in the churchyard and around the village, including what we've seen earlier, the yew grove behind Hall Well. Quite an impressive sight. Now, this is interesting. This looks like a very worn and possibly very old cross shaft, like a base for one, and it sits forlornly near the churchyard wall. This is a sad inscription. It's a memorial to Frank Richard Allsop, who was drowned on the Titanic and was never recovered, but his sister was fortunate enough to have survived. Now this is quite a rare Norman tympanum, and it's over the door as you go in. It's quite crude, but it's quaint, I suppose. It's got checkerboard pattern, and in the middle of it, half a dozen squares form a cross, and either side are two grinning figures with hands on hips. Now, I suppose it shows that in the remote corners of England, simple men, possibly of Anglo-Saxon origins, were struggling to follow the new ideas and just doing their amateur best. Possibly just an ordinary man who built walls for a living, and he managed to give them this carved tympanum. How many of us can say we've left something like that behind? And then when you walk into the church, you've got this 12th century Norman font with its simple carvings showing various beasts. It had been removed many years ago, having been used for baptisms for many hundreds of years, and it was used as a drinking trough for cattle. And it was amongst a cluster of trees at the top of the park, but it was moved back in 1873. And I guess it's another example of Derbyshire's keen amateur school of Norman carving. The design is incised rather than carved. It's not easy to capture on camera, but basically there are two beasts and two human figures, and one of the beasts has a man's head between his teeth. Now, this chancel arch is also Norman and has been overshadowed by the addition of the over-the-top Fitzherbert monument. Yeah, I guess these self-indulgent aristocrats could not expect to be charmed by these Norman carvings as we are today. Yeah, they were so self-indulgent, I suppose, and they had a sense of self-importance that must have motivated them to dominate the church in this way.